Hello again, Year 6. So today we are going to be looking at possessive and relative pronouns. So we have looked at these before, but we are just going to recap what they are and what they do. So first of all then, have a think to yourself, what is a pronoun? What's a pronoun? Have a think about what a noun is, and it might help you to work out what a pronoun is. So a pronoun is a word that can replace a noun in a sentence. So for example, her, his, their, they and mine. So these can replace the proper nouns. Have a look at my sentence here. What is wrong with it, do you think? So let's just have a look at the sentence. It says, Sarah said Sarah would buy the turkey and Sarah would bring the turkey to the house. Now we've looked at something similar to this recently. What do you think is wrong with this sentence? Just have a think for a second. That's right, it's a bit repetitive, isn't it? So the word that is a bit repetitive is Sarah, okay? Because we've got Sarah said, Sarah would buy the turkey and Sarah would bring the turkey to the house, okay? So it's not quite as easy to read, is it? Because there's too many of the word Sarah, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to replace the repetitive words with the most appropriate pronoun. So we could have Sarah said she would buy the turkey and she would bring the turkey to the house. Or, so if we put she, so if we read it again now, we've got Sarah said she would buy the turkey and Sarah would bring the turkey to the house. Sounds a bit better, doesn't it? So we could maybe change Sarah here to she as well. So we've got Sarah said she would buy the turkey and she would bring the turkey to the house. Okay, so that still sounds a lot better because we still know who she is because we're still referring back to Sarah right at the beginning of the sentence, aren't we? Okay, so what I would like you to do now then, I would like you to have a go. So I would like you to replace the repetitive nouns with the appropriate pronouns. So I will read this to you in a second. Instead of writing out the sentences, I'd just like you to write the pronouns in order that you would like them. So, when Jack's grandmother came to stay, she gave Jack some money. Jack used his money to buy a game called Gables. Jack could not wait to get home and play the new game. For his 9th birthday, James visited his grandparents, and his grandparents took James to the cinema. Okay, so there's two separate pieces there. There's one about Jack and one about James. What I would like you to do now is pause the video and have a go at replacing the repetitive nouns with the appropriate pronouns. Okay, let's see what we've got then. So, this is how I've changed it. So when Jack's grandmother came to stay, she gave him some money. Jack used his money to buy a game called Gables. He could not wait to get home and play the new game. And then for the second one, for his 9th birthday, James visited his grandparents and they took him to the cinema. Okay, so we've replaced the pronouns. Sorry, we've not. We've replaced the repetitive nouns and put pronouns in instead. Okay, and can you see how it makes it a bit more cohesive? It's easier to read, isn't it? Okay, we need to be careful because sometimes it is not always clear who we are referring to when we are using a pronoun. So if we just have a look here, we know here, don't we, that this him is still referring to Jack. We know that this they is referring to the grandparents. But in some sentences, it's not always as clear. So if we have a look, Gemma bought her friend a present and she thought it was brilliant. We're not sure here who the she is. The she could be Gemma, okay, it could be Gemma that thought it was brilliant, or it could also be her friend who thought it was brilliant. It's a bit ambiguous is the sentence, so you need to be careful when using the pronouns and make sure that you understand in the sentence who it is referring to. Okay, so is it referring to Gemma or is it referring to her friend? So then, possessive pronouns. So remember, these are designed to show possession and who the noun belongs to. So for example, that coat is mine. Mine is the possessive pronoun because it's showing that the coat belongs to me. So what I would like you to do now, out of these possessive pronouns here, mine, yours, his, hers, and ours, I would like you to write them, the correct ones, in the spaces below. So we've got, when Mum saw that I was wearing Oliver's gloves, she wanted to know where were. The boy showed me around the school. He took me to the music room and pointed out which classroom was. These video games belong to my sisters. These games are. Okay? So just be careful because actually one of them that you need to answer these questions is not up here. Okay? So there is one missing. See if you can work out which one it is. So pause the video now and have a go at putting the correct pronouns into these sentences. Okay, so the missing possessive pronoun from these sentences was theirs, and you would have needed that for the bottom one. So the first sentence then, when Mum saw that I was wearing Oliver's gloves, she wanted to know where mine were. The boy showed me around the school. He took me to the music room and pointed out which classroom was ours, or you could have also had his. Okay? These video games belong to my sisters. These games are theirs. Okay, so remember it's plural sisters, more than one sister. Therefore, it's not hers, it's theirs. Well done if you identified that missing possessive pronoun, and well done if you got them correct. Okay, so let's move on to relative pronouns then now. So first of all, what is a relative pronoun and can you think of any examples? So cast your minds back. We work with these quite often. Remember, a relative pronoun comes at the beginning of a relative clause a lot of the time. Does that jog your memories? So, a relative pronoun is a word which is used to refer back to the nouns that have been mentioned previously in the sentence. They are used to introduce a relative clause. So, for example, the boy, who was starting to feel nervous, crept into the darkening hall. So, who is your relative pronoun because it is referring back to the noun boy, okay, to the subject. Okay, can you see that? How the who has come after the boy and it's referring back. We're still talking about the boy with the relative pronoun who. What I would like you to do now, I would like you to put the correct relative pronoun into the sentences below. So we've got everyone loved the music was played last night. The boy was now freezing cold, knocked on the door. The mountain could be seen in the distance had snow on top of it. So the relative pronouns we've got are who, when, where, which, that, and whose. Pause the video now and have a go at trying to put the correct one in the sentences below. Okay, so we've got everyone loved the music that was played last night. The boy who was now freezing cold knocked on the door. The mountain, which could be seen in the distance, had snow on top of it. Now be careful when using that. This is the one that I think a lot of us get most confused with, and we tend to confuse it with the pronoun who. Okay? Remember, if you're talking about somebody, it can't be that, it's got to be who. Okay? Look at the paragraph below them and identify who each of the pronouns are referring to. So, this is the paragraph. He was darting through the lush jungle that could be seen creeping its way through the rocky valley. Sam was slowing now, pushing his way through the undergrowth as the treasure he longed for grew closer and closer. Cautiously stepping around the corner, Sam came face to face with the huge foot of a beast. He was surrounded by them on his plant-infested island. He crawled along the ground, trying desperately to ensure that it didn't spot him. He found a hiding place between some trees. As he leant against them, he saw a pearly egg beginning to hatch. Its white shell cracked down one side and then split in two, revealing a slimy, tiny baby inside. Sam, who was watching on in amazement, started to lose track of where he was and the threat that surrounded him. So that is your passage. What I would like you to do is I would like you to identify who each of the pronouns is referring to. So for example, this first one, he, we know that he is referring to the main character, the protagonist, Sam. Okay? Because it says so here. His, again, is referring to Sam because it is Sam is pushing his way through the undergrowth. Okay, does that make sense? Pause the video now and have a go at identifying who each pronoun is referring to. Okay, let's have a look at the answers then. So he is Sam. That is the jungle because we're describing the jungle there. It is the jungle again. His is Sam. He is Sam. And then we go right down here to them is the beasts. He again is Sam. It is the beast. Them is the trees. It is the egg. Who is Sam? And he is Sam. Well done if you got those correct. I'll speak to you soon, Year 6.